talk about. Before I tell you what I'm going to talk about, think about that for a second. We don't talk about something, and it's really the biggest social issue that we do. Okay. In fact, when I tell you guys what it is, often I get people that will make a joke. I want to talk to you guys about marriage. Let that sink in for a second. Ouch. Exactly. Ouch. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, but before I told you what it was, it's a sensitive subject, right? Okay. Who here is married? So my next question is supposed to be who here is happily married. So I don't want to embarrass anybody.
Depending on the day.
Exactly. Well, that's what I mean. Sensitive subject, right? But who here would like to be happy? Okay. And just so you know, that then includes the single people.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Don't you guys want to learn about marriage? Right? In fact, one of the things I was thinking about this yesterday as I was preparing for this, one of the things that I realized we don't talk about marriage. It is a taboo subject. We know the stats, 50% divorce rate. But I'm going to tell you guys something that you're going to hear for the first time. I have solved the marriage problem. In fact, if some of you thought it, I'll test you guys out. It's funny, I just told this to Bill earlier. It's amazing. About 75% of the time I'll make that comment to somebody, their response is, don't get married.
Or divorce.
Yeah, exactly. Don't get married or get divorced. And the sad thing about that is the state of mind that we have today about our culture of marriage. It's a throwaway now, right? If you don't get along, you get divorced. Now, bear in mind, our divorce rate before the 60s was single digits. It was structured. The man was in charge. The woman was subordinate. The man was responsible for logic. He was responsible for control. The woman, she was emotional, responsible for the environment of the house, raising the kids, right? That was the structure that had been there for thousands of years. But let me start off before I get into it, because I don't want to get into a lot of detail. I want to make sure I keep the time good on this. But my dad was a cab driver. Okay, so I was raised poor. In fact, here's one of the biggest compliments that was given to me, and I realize this is because of my upbringing. When you come to it from my perspective, and many of you probably had that sort of upbringing as well. When you go through the mental maturing process, I appreciate that more than if I was raised well. So, raised poor, dad cab driver, put myself through engineering school. So, bear that in mind. I'm an engineer, very analytical. Okay, I'm a nerd. I'll admit that up front. Spent 9 years in the telecom equipment industry. Went back and got my MBA. I landed on Wall Street as the first semiconductor analyst on Wall Street to focus on communications. Okay, so I have a resume. At the height of the market in 2000, I met this girl I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with. In fact, we had known each other for 8 years. She always had a boyfriend, I always had a girlfriend. But we got together at a time in our lives we weren't in relationships. And for you that have fallen in love, look back at the very beginning how easy it was, right? Meet somebody that you get along with. In fact, I explain that psychologically what happens to people who fall in love. But it happened to us. Loved this girl, beautiful girl. She was a big socialite in Dallas. She knew everybody. Fell in love, started fighting. But more importantly, when we went to the therapist, and the therapist wasn't helping, when I realized I was going to take on this mission myself, I spent 2 years researching and writing my book. 100 books went into the research of my book. Probably one of the most researched books I've written. This was 20 years ago. I've been working on this for 20 years. They self-published my book 14 years ago. I live up in Delray. But the point about that story is this comes from depth of pain. It's the motivation for me doing this. It's the pain that I experienced that I don't want anybody to experience. Oh, the other part of my story, I got to tell you this part too. So when I was 12 years old, I told my mom I wanted to be a Catholic priest. Then I discovered girls, so that'll career path kind of got derailed. Exactly, yeah, same thing too. But so the point is I was raised with a moral compass, and that is In fact, it's funny now, my whole Wall Street career talking tech and all that other stuff. Now I can talk about really God, forgiveness, empathy, you know, these really cool things that are very meaningful. In fact, I see Adrian shaking his head. Adrian's one of the guy I met. He's also in the marriage business as well. I'm building an entire marriage community here within Clubhouse, Facebook, and stuff like that. In fact, one of the things you guys want to do on Facebook, it's called the Marriage Support Group. Okay, you guys want to write that down? The Marriage Support Group. It's a group that I started about 10 years ago that for some reason, about 6 months ago, I hit to the tipping point. I've been adding 3,000 and 4,000 people a month. We have over 10,000 members in my group now. My mission is to lower the divorce rate. I have got to get this is the vision that I have. Okay. So what I want to do, again, I could literally talk about this subject for hours. But I just want to go through one thing with you guys, just one fundamental thing with you guys to give you a sense on what I'm talking about here. Okay. So first of all, when I say I've solved the marriage problem, you know, again, men used to be in charge, women are now educated. 1970, less than 1% of all law and medical degrees went to women. By 1990, the number is over half. There's no question women are educated. We're never going to, in fact, one of the weaknesses I realized, or to me, the biggest weakness in our culture of marriage today is emotional men. Because how are men supposed to relate to their women if they're not emotional? And it's still viewed as a weakness for guys to be emotional. It's not a weakness at all. We got to get past that. So, but the point is the solution to the problem is equality. What I want to ask you guys is tell me one word. I want you guys to understand the significance of this conversation. Tell me one word that comes to mind when you think of the concept of equality. Just one word. What comes to mind, one word, when you think of the concept of equality?
Sharing, non-existent.
What it means, not what we have, but what it means.
Sharing.
Okay? In other words, just one word. Give me one word. Anybody else? Okay. So let me ask the question this way. If you were a slave and you were in bondage and you had an owner, what do you think the word equality would mean to that person? What word you think would mean to somebody who is enslaved? Freedom. Right? Don't you think that would be their biggest focus if they were enslaved with an owner would be freedom? That's what equality means. Equality, mental equality means freedom of mind. Okay, so I just want to go through one thing and then I'll bring Bill up. I don't want to spend too much time. So here's how simple I keep this. The reason why relationships are successful is because couples get along. The reason why relationships are unsuccessful is because couples don't get along. Not even more complicated than that. It's conflict resolution. Okay, so I just want to go through one part of my conflict resolution conversation, and that's arguments. Okay, what I do is I break arguments down into their component parts. There's a process that we go through. No, we don't. There's a process that we go through that leads to an argument. Starts off with an insecurity. Your parents got divorced. Think about it. Your parents got divorced. You now have a fear of marriage because of what your parents are. Okay, that fear leads to a prejudice. That insecurity leads to prejudice. This is the first place you've heard this, because this is one of my discoveries, is that our mental problems are prejudices. That's what they are. Okay, mom and dad got divorced. I now have a preconceived opinion about marriage. That prejudice leads to being judgmental, which then leads to anger. Okay, and the point of this conversation, where I'm going through with this dialogue, is, and Andrew, even you probably get this to people that have been studying this stuff, that are trying to solve it. This is a second language to us. And fear is what motivates anger. Okay, think about that. Okay, so here's the example that I use. You come home late from work and your partner gets mad. Okay, the caveat here is you're not out drinking with your buddies. You actually did get that call at 5 p.m. It did take an hour. You forgot to call your spouse on the way home. You get home, you get in trouble. Because this was the question that I struggled with for years to figure out how to address that. When you're not, there's not morally wrong coming home late for work, but you still get in trouble. Okay, what is your natural response to that? Fight or flight. You're going to defend yourself, or you're just going to withdraw. Okay. if you didn't do anything wrong, what you'll realize it has nothing to do with you. Low self-esteem, abandonment issues, maybe mom and dad got divorced. So if you could turn that conversation around to what is your partner afraid of, that introduces a psychological conversation in your marriage. And you have to create a judgment-free zone in order to do that, so that your partner doesn't think you will look down on them if they bring up something that they're not so proud of. That I am summarizing a 2-hour conversation in this little time I'm going through with you guys. There is so much more to this than that, but I have solved the marriage problem. Okay. Now, if you guys want a conversation about what to do after that, you guys want a conversation about getting together with me earlier, the cheaper. I mean, this is just so you guys know, because I'm working with Bill, I'm working with other people. My mission is to lower the divorce rate in this country. I'm not going to stop until I get there. I'm working with other marriage experts to build a community within this community that we can go and because it's not about me. One thing I've heard with the Minner Studio, which I got to give them a little shout out if you don't mind, Bill, with Michael Silvers and Mary Gorefield. If you guys have not found out about the Minner Studio, you should. But they have made a really significant comment when they said, don't do it alone. I hear that now with Bill. I think you guys talked about in Chicago. Don't do that alone. And we need a team. So anyhow, so that is my mission. That is why I'm here. I left my Wall Street career. That's how committed I am to this. It's about time I'm putting my foot down. It's about time that couples get taught and educated. And just so you guys know, it's not about waiting until you're on the verge of divorce to get help. That's the way that we do it today. Get education beforehand. Invest in your marriage like you invest in anything else. Realize that's probably the best, you can ever talk about this, probably the best investment you can ever make. You guys keep moving forward. Why not spend time ahead of time? What I do is I make marriages conscious. Okay. So anyhow, like I said, I could talk about this. I love talking about this subject. It's a passion, obviously. It's about time. And so I want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to talk to you guys. Exactly. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So with that being said, again, Bill, thank you very much for big time. So, in fact, he's giving me the intro, but really we don't need the intro because he comes without a need for intro, but I will anyhow. So, and I'm very honored to have met you to be included in your circle. So Bill Walsh, a venture capitalist, business coach, biggest business development coaches in the country. I'll end with that. Mr. Walsh is a featured expert in the new movie Beyond The Secret, The Awakening. He's the best-selling author of the book The Obvious and is currently ranked number 10 top business coach in the world by Guru Magazine. Like I said, in his career, he spent 10 years trading foreign currency, 10 years as a turnaround specialist, and for the past 15 years has been investing in startups and lecturing all over the world on the power of how disruptive innovation drives economies. Inspiration leads to innovation. I love that notion. He loves helping entrepreneurs and small business owners create even more success. The company he founded in 2005, Power Team International, specializes in business programs, speaking training programs, and global innovation think tanks. This is how big of a thinker this guy is. You will love his message as he always delivers cutting-edge content and some of the best resources that every business needs to learn about on how to survive and thrive in any economy. Without further ado, if y'all let me welcome up Bill Walsh.
How's everyone doing, first of all? Great. Turn left, right, and tell someone you look good.
You look good.
You look great.
Now do it one more time. Please do it one more time and say, but I look better.
You look better.
How many here actually own a business? Own a business? How many are entrepreneurs? How many are looking for new ways to make